Welcome to part 2 of my favorite lucid dream adventures. In this video, I'm going to continue reading through my dream journal and just sharing some of my awesome lucid dreams that I've had over the years. If you didn't check out part 1, I'll link it below. And this is a continuation because I said I would share more and I have a lot more lucid dreams to share. Starting off legendary. This dream is very special to my heart because it literally healed me in a time where I was really down bad and really struggling with my mental health and really going through it. So this one to me is personal proof that dreams can heal not only physical ailments, but emotional and spiritual ailments as well. So it's called Listen with Your Heart. So the dream starts off in an apartment that I did not live in anymore. It's like really messy, and it starts off as kind of a false awakening where I'm halfway in the dream space, halfway in my room, and then I decided to focus on the dream imagery and see where it takes me, until I was fully lucid in this apartment because I realized, okay, I don't live here anymore, so this must be a dream. So I do my typical reality check. I pull my finger like this and my finger stretches like rubber. So now I'm confirmed that I know I'm dreaming. And when I become lucid, I remember in this dream that I was going through a hard time. So those feelings immediately came back into my memory. And, I was feeling that in the dream because I was feeling it in waking life. So there I was consciously remembering all the shit that I'm going through. The only thing I could think to do was to ask the dream for help. I was tired of feeling depressed and feeling this way. So I literally called out to the dream, please send me a spirit guide. I need one right now. I said it with all my heart. I really need healing right now. I was going through it. So I said it with all the emotion in my heart. So this man appears behind me. He kind of looks Indian. He's a little chubby, but he's really nice. He gives me instructions and he says he's going to take me to one of my spirit guides who has been asking to talk to me or looking for me. So he tells me a name that I don't really remember, but it sounded like Ganesha, or one of those Hindu gods, who is actually known for removing obstacles and new beginnings, creating new beginnings, which I definitely needed at the time. So that's what I thought the name was, but words and dreams get kind of blurry sometimes. But that's who I felt that it was, the Hindu god. And so he takes me through the wall, Harry Potter style, into another room. And there's this beautiful woman, dressed in all red. She had the traditional clothing on. She was just a higher dimensional being. She had a lot of beautiful energy radiating from her. She had a lot of love, and there was these double white doors that I came in through, and she was close the door. So I kicked the door closed with my foot, symbolic, right? She says, give me your hand and put your trust in me. So she puts out her hands like this, and I grab her hands. She starts spinning around like this. So I'm grabbing her from two directions, and we start spinning into this dream abyss. And this beautiful music starts playing, and we're spinning through this magical forest. The whole dream scene turns into this just magical dance. It was like a movie, and I was just spinning through it, and I almost couldn't see her anymore, but I just knew I was holding on to her hands. And as we're spinning through this magical musical forest, it was just so dreamlike and celestial. And while we're spinning, she's sending me loving, healing energy through my body, through my hands, as we're spinning through this musical forest. And it was just the most beautiful and healing song I've ever heard. I felt so safe and loved in that moment. I never wanted to let go. We were spinning for 10 minutes, dream minutes. It's just all love and peace. I wanted to remember this song forever. It was literally healing me. I could feel my heartstrings rewiring themselves and my neural pathways rebuilding, and just love filling my body. I could literally feel the healing. And I never wanted to let go, but I knew it was time to let go eventually. So my hands start slipping out of hers, and then eventually I wake up with this radiating feeling of love and peace. It stayed with me for the rest of the week. And I knew from that day forward, I felt better. I woke up feeling healed. As crazy as that sounds, I was not suffering as much anymore. It's she had taken a ball of grief out of my heart. And it was life-changing. And that dream made me realize how healing dreams can truly be. That dream, I'll never forget it. I still think about it to this day when I need healing. This one's cool. So I'm driving through this big, fancy, castle property. I become lucid when I reach this dead end, and it's a lake or a body of water. and I almost fall in the water. And the fear, actually, I think I do fall in the water. And this fear makes me become lucid. Like, there's no way I just drove my car into a lake. Like, I must be dreaming, because I would never do that. So I'm walking back up this hill. I get out of the water, and there's this Asian guy next to me, and he's just walking up the hill as well. And so we just start talking. I'm just lucid, kind of observing, going with the story. And I'm just asking him questions about who he is. I'm like, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? He says he's Korean. He asked me if I play blackjack, or maybe he said flapjack. I don't really know. Like I said, sometimes words in dreams get a little jumbled up. And I was like, I don't know how, but I can learn. And he says, yeah, that's fine. So he's showing me how to manifest a deck of cards. Like when he goes like this with his hands, like this beautiful deck of cards shows up in his hands. And they're like navy blue with like golden accents, like shiny gold, like embroidered accents all around it. It was beautiful. And they had like celestial like designs on them. I still remember how these cards looked till this day. It was so beautiful that I was like, if I ever get to design a deck of cards, that is what it will look like. I guess I could have AI recreate it. I should probably do that. But it was just beautiful. And I was like, wow, thanks for showing me cool dream tricks. And so I tried doing it. I swiped my hands, and it took me a few attempts, but I did it, and the beautiful card showed up in my hands. And one of the cards says dream sacrifices on them. So I just thought that was really peculiar. I love reading like the fine text in dreams. Sometimes text is gibberish. Sometimes it says something perfect. So that's always interesting. And now I'm totally fully into my lucidity. There's other people sitting around talking. We're sitting on this bed talking about some movie posters and some actors. And I'm looking at these movie posters wondering, like, are these like real movie posters, or is my brain just like making this up? And someone's like, no, it's just sci-fi, but like I do wonder if it exists in the real world. And so there's this girl there. She has like short curly hair. And I'm asking her, I'm like, are you a lucid dreamer? Like, are you a person somewhere in the world, or are you just like a part of my dream? And she's telling me like, no, yeah, like I live in Russia. I'm actually a well-known schizophrenic, so I get very confused between the dream world and the waking world. And she's like telling me her struggles as like a schizophrenic, and how she deals with that in her conscious mind. And then I asked her if we should follow each other on Instagram. And she gets really excited. She's like, yes, yes, yes. And she's like putting her Instagram like handle in my phone. And right as she's doing that, I wake up. Of course, they don't want me to be great. Anyway, that one's called Dream Sacrifices. This one's kind of funny, just a quick one. I called it Picasso because I was looking in the mirror and like rearranging my face like Picasso, like putting my nose over here and like my eyes over here. And that one was just like really funny. Like I like looking in the mirror in dreams and doing different things. It's always unique. Some people say, don't do that. Scary things will happen. Don't put that crap in your head. Just have fun. And if something scary happens, you'll live. So this one's fun. It's called Mansion Exploring. If you watch my other videos, you know that sometimes I just like to create my dream house or decorate, you know, however I wanted to if money wasn't an object. I just love creating and manifesting in dreams. So that's what this dream was about. That's just what came to mind in the moment, and I was really having fun. So I become lucid. There was a whole dream before I became lucid, but that's not what this video is about. So I become lucid, and I'll start there. I walk into this huge mansion, and my friend is with me, and I'm telling him, like, let's just play and decorate this house and have fun. So we walk in, it's a double garage, huge house. The kitchen is really messy. Like there's pots and pans all over the floor. Like we can't even walk, but the living room is clean and it looks pretty. So I go outside, I say I want a pool, and a pool shows up, and I jump in, I'm swimming around, and I want like a whole jungle gym. Very much like inner child happiness right there. So a jungle gym shows up. I'm like doing flips and tricks on the jungle gym as if gravity is just not a thing. I'm literally like doing all these muscle ups and flips and all this crazy stuff. Lots of good vibes going around. There's people talking by the campfire. There's like a little mini party going on. And there's these huge trees. I fly up to the top of the trees, and they have these big fruits on them, and I grab these fruits. They're like giant soursops almost, or maybe like a guava, and I break it open. It's like this big, healthy, juicy fruit, and I start to like eat it and like put it around my hands and my face, and it's so delicious and so healthy. It was really good. Again, another myth that people talk about is don't eat food in your dreams, or don't accept food from other people, which this is like a myth in some cultures. And, you know, maybe there's some reasoning behind it. But for me, my experience, I eat food in my dreams all the time. It was really fun. Now, I do feel differently when somebody gives me food versus when I eat it myself. So again, follow your own practice, and whatever you believe is totally fine. I remember these fruits are cancer fighting, so like I eat them with that intention that it's like healthy for me. And then I remembered a dream test that I had to ask dream characters for inspiration for like podcast ideas and like things to write about. So I see a bunch of people sitting down. They look Hispanic, and so I start talking to them in Spanish and asking about dreams. One lady says her name is something like Claudia Isabella Perrata. Like she literally gave me her full first, middle, and last name. I asked her what she thinks about dreams. She's like, oh, you mean dreams that come true later? I'm like, yeah, premonition dreams are cool, or like your own personal dream stories. And she starts telling me about her dreams and her experiences. Her voice starts slowly fading away, kind of like an out of tune radio. She also showed me her social media page so I can find her. Like she's showing me her Facebook profile. And I'm memorizing it in the dream. I'm like looking at her picture, I'm remembering her name, which I remember clearly. But then like her language starts to like fade, like it's not translating properly, so it's making it hard to like understand what she's saying, almost like it's kind of like losing signal or something. And then I wake up. And as soon as I woke up, I went on Facebook and I typed that name in and I searched every single profile. None of them had the picture that I remember. So another fail, but there were people with that name or very similar names. So who knows? If you're out there, come find me. Sometimes if I see my friends in my lucid dreams, I'll try to help them become lucid. Like I'll look into their eyes and be like, hey, you're in my dream. If you're sleeping wherever you are, like remember this, like become lucid, wake up, tell me your dream. So that's just always fun. You never know. You never know. Okay. In this one dream, I asked this blonde girl for winning lottery numbers. She says, I don't know if I can do that well. I say, it's okay, just try. And she told me 11, 15, 15, 20, 0. I played those lottery numbers, didn't win, but remember this in case it's ever the winning lottery numbers in the future. Maybe in another dimension, who knows? But hey, worth a shot, right? There is actually some people that won the lottery by using their dreams. Okay, this one's cool too. I become lucid and I ask for a spirit guide. And I have headphones on and I can't see a spirit guide personally, but they're talking to me on the phone in this dream. So I'm kind of distracted because there's like a lot of dream characters trying to talk to me. So I'm trying to focus on this phone call. So I go to a different part of the room and she says, you can ask me anything. Again, it's like an Indian lady's voice. And so my friend and I were doing experiments at the time to try to get keywords for each other. So the first thing I asked her was my friend's keywords. She gave me a bunch of gibberish. I did not get anywhere with that in that dream. She tells me to stay focused and motivated in aspects of my life. I ask her about my favorite dreams that I've had. She said the one about the computer giving you messages and the one where the monkey keeps repeating things. I'm trying to remember what dream she's talking about, but it's very vague and I cannot remember. Maybe it's a dream I haven't had yet. I did have the computer one, I think, but I don't remember having any monkey talking dreams. Again, not everything in dreams are literal, so who knows. She asks me if I'm into AI and the metaverse, but she doesn't sound too fond of it. I say potentially it's cool. I want to learn more about it if I get a chance. She's like, okay, cool. I ask her about my most notable past lives. She tells me I lived in Atlantis, and there's one in Egypt, and some other one that I can't remember. Something about an Asian country, Indonesia maybe, can't remember. I ask her for advice related to my life. She tells me all these things I should do and like motivational things. And then I'm just peacefully talking to her on the phone and not much else happens after that. And that one's called Lucid Spirit Guide with the phone emoji. Also, when I create my dream home, it's not always like a fancy pantsy mansion. That's kind of just what I think about in the moment. Most of the time, it's like a beautiful farm. Like I literally have this dream of creating a big farmland with organic vegetables and all these plants and goats and cows and a grocery store and like places for a lucid dreaming retreat and meditation retreat. And like I have this whole like realm that I've created in my dream that's like persistent. Every time I go back to this lucid dream, my farm is like growing or being harvested or whatever. Like it's like an ongoing persistent realm that I love to visit. So a lot of times I'll create my farm too, or work on the farm. I guess I live part-time in another dimension, you could say. Okay, this one's really interesting just because it felt so like ominous and weird. It's called When Everywhere Becomes Home, which is a quote from the dream. So I'm in this huge house, different country, different dimension. It's really pretty. It's in the middle of nature and there's water all around the houses. It's very elegant in its own way. There's people around my age. We're all like hanging out and chilling, and it's like we all live here and travel together. I'm lucid and I'm in this one room. It's white space. There's not much stuff going on. It kind of feels like I'm on a spaceship. All there is a bed and popcorn ceilings. And I go in there and I remember a dream task because I'm not sure what to do and I'm not ready to go out and talk to people. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot to explore here. I see a balloon on the ceiling and I grab the balloon. I asked it to show me what I need to know. I pop the balloon and there's a letter inside. And typed out, it says, when everywhere becomes home, don't forget your ma's Quran. Okay, that made no sense to me. I was like, Quran, like the religious text, ma, like my mom, like is there something I'm missing here? Maybe I'm thinking too literally, but again, I was like, I'm not going to overthink it. There was some other gibberish written on the paper. I just thought it was interesting and it was kind of touching, made me feel good. So I was like, okay, I'll take that message. Thanks. Hope it integrates. So I go out into the kitchen and I'm talking to all these people. They're telling me this is Shannon's house. Don't know who Shannon is. I walk outside with one of the guys who seems nice, and there's this huge gravel driveway. It's nighttime. And we're friends and we're talking, and we pass by this other house that I immediately remember from another dream. Like, I don't actively have a dream where I was in that house, but in this dream, I had memories of being there in past dreams, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I just don't consciously remember this dream or if it's like a memory continuation of this dream narrative. But I remember this house and I try to like mentally add it to my dream map because in the dream it made so much sense. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here and I've been here before. And this house, it's beautiful. It's like huge, elegant, neutral colored house, but it has like these marble designs on it that are like lines of color. Like, you know how when you're eating a jawbreaker, it starts to peel back all the colors? It had like these abstract, like wiggly lines all around the corners of the house with this like jawbreaker color design on it, like irregular lines, and they're like peeling back layer by layer on the house. It was really cool. And then I asked him about this house. I was like, whose house is it? He's like, oh, it's another girl who used to be in our friend group. And then I like vaguely remember hanging out with them like in another dream scene. I have like this memory bank in the dream that I don't consciously recall, and it's not in my dream journal, but in that dream I was like, oh yeah, I remember her. I wake up and go back to sleep and I try to re-enter this same dream. So I did with the same group of people, but we're in a different place now. Now we're in some sort of spaceship traveling house thing. I can tell that we are like a group that travels interdimensionally doing missions together. We're all like close friends. There's one girl who didn't make it with us for some reason. Her name is Olivia. I think she's the sister of somebody there. She was with us in the beginning and now she's not for some reason. So I look out the window of this spaceship. So I can see different planets. Like I can see Earth from this spaceship and I can see the oceans. I can just tell we're in like another dimension, like looking at Earth. It's really like an unsettling but inspiring and beautiful feeling. There's all these letters and like magazines and books that came in the mail. And we're all just like reading through it and I'm going through them and one of them is addressed to me. So I open it and it's kind of a bunch of gibberish, you know, and in this dream I could not read any of the text, but I wanted to know what it says. So I'm kind of trying to focus so I can read it and understand it. This girl next to me is saying, you can't read it in English. It's energetic. You have to read the energy and then you can understand what it says. That instantly makes perfect sense to me. I'm like, oh, duh, like so intuitively. So I start like feeling the letter and then I can understand what it says. It's like a love letter of support from somebody who loves me or like a fan or something. It's very positive and motivating. I look through some of these other magazines. There's like Valentine's Day stuff and another letter that's also in gibberish, but I can tell it's not addressed to me. It's addressed to this Olivia girl who's not here. And I open it and there's money in it, like dollars, hundreds of dollars. And I know that I'm in this spaceship in this other dimension. And I'm jokingly like, send this to my Earth bank account because it's useless to me here. Someone's like, oh, well, that's Olivia's. I'm like, well, what would she say if she was here? And they're like, well, she'll probably tell you to keep it or do whatever you want with it because it's useless here. And we're like joking and we're agreeing that this money has no value here. And in the moment, it was so shocking because I know I had my Earth memories of, you know, money being this big, important, valuable thing. If I found hundreds of dollars on the street, I would, you know, keep it or whatever. I wouldn't treat it like trash. But in this dream, it was literally just paper, useless paper. That means nothing. And we're just like laughing and joking about how it has no value. There's a different type of energy currency here that is run on love and we're abundant in it. One of the magazines is like medical magazines. My family's all over it. It's like showing me like predictions and like interviews and things. And then I asked my friends about the location we were in. I was like, is this another country or another dimension or what? They're like, yeah, I guess another dimension is the simplest way we can explain it to a human brain, but you're always here. Always here. Interesting. And what I got from that is even right now, when I'm in this physical waking world, I'm still there. Like my soul is still traveling interdimensionally doing missions. I don't know. That's what I got out of it. So that one was cool. This one's called The Healing Treehouse. It was another very sad but healing dream. First part of the dream, I was fully lucid. It feels important, but I cannot remember the actions of the dream. It's like been wiped from my memory. It was some sort of ceremony or initiation that I was going through. It was very spiritual and powerful, but I can't remember it at all. And then my memory starts when I'm in this house, different country, different dimension again. And I made the decision to be fully naked for some reason. Maybe it was part of the first part. I don't remember, but I was naked. It was more so of like a sense of freedom. It wasn't like a sexual kind of thing. So I walk out onto this beautiful balcony. The balcony's cluttered with like antiques and different things. And I'm looking out at everything in detail. This dream scene is one of the most beautiful dream scenes ever. Like if I could paint, I would paint it, but I don't have the talent to do that. It was like this huge river running through. I'm at the top of this balcony. There's all these other like houses and apartments and buildings. It kind of looked like a mixture of like Russia and like Greece. It was just a beautiful scene. And there was somebody painting on their balcony. There was somebody else singing over here. People like swimming in the river. It was a very much like loving community. It looks straight out of a painting. There's this huge, giant, like hundreds-year-old tree in the middle of the river with these gigantic branches that like towers over buildings. But there's something sad about the scene. I can't really pinpoint it, but it's just like this town has been going through struggles, but they still have this like loving sense of community. And this giant tree was somehow symbolic of that. Very close-knit community, people climbing trees and all this stuff. So I'm just observing, and then I see this like heavy-set, curly-haired dude in the water, and he's like calling me over, like, come swim. And I remember I'm naked, so like at first I get a little nervous. I'm like, oh, I don't know. But then I'm like, well, it's a dream actually, so like who cares about that, right? I had to like snap myself back into it. So I fly down to where he's at, and at first he like laughs at me for being naked, but then he kind of forgets about it. And I'm looking at this huge tree. Up close, it's even bigger. And he's telling me about the town and the struggles they've gone through. I can't remember the details, but the tree has these names carved into it. I take some time to try to read the names and dates and maybe memorize some of them. A lot of them are like foreign names that I can't really remember or burn into my memory. But I see one of them that says Dr. John. I remember distinctly. And I'm wondering, wow, is this another human doctor that visited this dream location, or am I making this up? In the moment, I'm thinking about finding a name that I could match up with, but Dr. John is just too general to be able to do that. So I just forget about that. I enjoy the moment, and I'm feeling all the engravings of this tree. The guy then showed me a part of the tree that is wounded. It's like damaged. You can like see the fibers of the tree. It's like all torn up. And he somehow is explaining to me how this represents the struggles of the town, like wars, maybe destruction, not sure. But I want to help heal this tree, so I'm like sending healing Reiki energy to this tree. I'm like healing it like this. There's like blue beams of energy coming from my hand. I'm literally like doing Reiki on this tree, but it's very energetic and colorful. The energy is like pulsing through my arms into the tree. He pointed to some people sitting up in the tree. It's like a whole like apartment complex up there. He's like, if you really want to help healing, go and talk to that woman up there. So I start climbing the tree. There's like an entire house in the tree, and I sit next to this lady. She looks like a Russian woman, but then she like shape shifts into like this American looking woman. And I start talking to her, and she's clearly troubled. Like you can tell that she's holding back tears, and she's like trying not to cry. And she's trying to like put on like a, strong face for me. At first, we're talking very surface level small talk, and her best friend is sitting right there, and they talk about how they're going through something. I give her a hug, and like, I'm rubbing her back to like console her. They both have like tears in their eyes. And there's also some sort of like language barrier, and we're also kind of talking telepathically because my words are coming out like jumbled, but they still understood me. So there's like a weird language barrier going on, but it doesn't matter because we understood each other. I don't know. I guess all the characters in my brain just get along, I guess. This girl gives her friend a look about how she doesn't want to talk about it in my absence. She doesn't want to like worry me. I'm telling them that I'm here to support, but I completely respect if they're not ready to talk about whatever's bothering them. And they say they're still very much processing whatever's happening. So I try to create a safe space and offer love. I'm really shocked at how long this dream is. In the dream, I was thinking, wow, I bet I'm in REM sleep. I was definitely in REM sleep. This is a REM dream for sure. And as soon as I think that, the dream fades and I wake up. I love that dream. That Treehouse is very special, and I still think about those dream characters. I hope they're doing well. In this dream, I actually did a wild awake-induced lucid dream, which I don't do as often. Like, I literally am not good at doing this method, but every once in a while, I will have a wild awake-induced lucid dream. So I enter through this current of this black void, which is how my wild dreams usually start. Before the dream starts to form, I'm in like this weird void, and it feels like an energetic current that I'm like holding on for dear life, like floating through. But then the dream forms, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm skateboarding, just like shredding these staircases and going like upside down through these caves. I love skateboarding in my dreams. I'm not good at it in waking life, but in my dreams, I'm freaking Tony Hawk. I'm a pro. So I was like shredding, and I start to go really fast. There's other people kind of skating around me, and there's this one guy that skate past me, and he's like, hey, you having fun? Like, what do you think about this tunnel? I'm like, yeah, this is dope. I'm like, hey, are you a dreamer too? He's like, yeah, find me in waking life. We're like yelling at each other through this tunnel. I'm like, what's your Instagram? He's like, Randy, TRT. I make him spell it out so I don't miss any letters. And that's what he said, Randy, TRT, clear as day. I was like, okay, I'll try to find you. So I keep on skating. I'm skating up the walls through this school. So eventually the dream turns into this like cloudy white scene. And I don't want the dream to end. So I'm turning around, trying to get back to the caves that I was just in. But the whole dream starts to like fog up. City buses are like floating through the air. It's like this very weird scene. And then I wake up. And of course, I looked on Instagram for Randy TRT, and there was a few handles related to that username. And I followed Randy TRT, but he never followed me back or accepted my request. So who knows if he remembers that dream, if he was really there. I guess we'll never know. Okay, this one was kind of weird and very scary. So like, not all of my dreams are peachy happiness. I don't usually have nightmares, but every once in a while I'll have scary dreams. So I'm at dinner with my mom and some other random guy. We go upstairs and I immediately become lucid. I'm sitting on this bed. My mom says to ward off the negative parts of myself that I need to study. There's this like creepy ghost girl in the corner of the room. And her, me, and my mom are all parts of me. Like in the dream, I'm conscious of this. Like I'm actively experiencing the dream as all three parts, but mostly as me. So this creepy girl, like ghost girl, starts this game challenge where she's like chasing me around the room going crazy. She gets closer and closer, and it's like creeping me out. I'm like running away from her. My mom reminds me to just start studying the negative parts of myself and focus on that. I keep reminding myself that I'm dreaming, that I'm lucid, so that it's less scary. And I find this book. I'm like scrambling to read it. It's like a picture book. I'm like, this is not enticing enough. So I grab another book. I start reading it. I'm literally reading to distract myself from this creepy ghost girl who's like in my face, like doing creepy haunted ghost things. And I'm just like, don't look at her. That's scary. And she's getting closer and closer. And I'm focusing on this book. It doesn't really make much sense. And I can't focus on the meaning because I'm a little scared, but not really. And not much else happens after that. I woke up. But that dream was very scary. Sometimes when I say a dream like, oh, this is so cool and so scary, like maybe when I'm speaking it out loud, it does not sound as intense as it felt, but this one's a little bit more positive. So in this dream, I'm flying through the air and I'm seeing all of my different dream landscapes as I'm passing by. So I see like the Egyptian pyramids, my farm that I talked about, my big house mansion, all these different like environments that I've created over the years. And it's kind of like a game. I'm like picking which map I want to load into. And I'm like screaming down at them like, hey guys, what's up? You know, flying by. My family's there and we're all talking about dreams and stuff. And my family's telling me to say hi to my grandma and my grandpa who have passed away. They're like, say hi to them in the dream world and get their phone numbers. And I'm telling them like, you know, you can do it too. I'm not the only lucid dreamer here. We can all tap into visitation dreams. And they can do it with their mind, and I motivate them. And there's a scary part to this dream too. As I'm like flying around, there's like these creepy demon figures trying to like chase me, and I just say, no, thank you, and I shoo them away, which actually felt very healing. And so then I was able to focus on what I wanted to and continue the dream. Then the dream changes to this like giant cyber spaceship. We're like cleaning it and we're looking at all the data and the missions. It's like high technology. I feel very safe and protected here. And I kind of lose lucidity in between those two scenes, but then I become lucid again. And I see this like counselor dude get off this canoe boat, and he has all these kids with him. And I go up to him and I ask him if I can meet my future children. He's like, yeah, of course. One of them is British. He brings over this tall teenage girl. She has like crutches on. And another kid kind of makes fun of her. And I'm like, hey, don't talk about my kid that way. And she says she just scraped her knee. It's not a big deal. And then another kid as well. So there's two kids that are apparently my future children. I asked them their names. They say Kaya and Nyla or something like that. This guy says that people really pushed for that name. I'm like, okay. The kids are very shy, but they seem very cute, and I just give them a hug and embrace them. And I'm just like observing at them in awe. I'm like, wow, I wonder if this is really what they're going to look like. And then I had this gum stuck in my mouth, which is a very common like dream symbol for me, where I'm chewing gum and I'm trying to pull it out and it's like sticking to my mouth. So I got distracted by that. Sometimes it makes me lucid because I'm like, oh, I don't chew gum in waking life, so this is a dream. But sometimes it also distracts me and I lose lucidity when I focus on the gum or whatever. So that ended there. In another dream, I'm feeling like I need some, inspirational advice and motivation. So I become lucid and I ask a dream character, what do I need to know right now? And she said, just be happy. So simple as that, right? How did I not think of that? Thanks, dream. I asked more dream characters the same thing, but I couldn't remember. In the dream, someone's talking about PhD programs, typical to what I've been thinking about in my waking life at the time. They're like, don't go there, this college is lame, go to this one, apply to this one. In the dream, I was already looking at the application. So now the dream scene changes and I'm in this empty tennis court. It's deserted. I'm like, why is it so lonely here? I become lucid again and I see this one man sitting by a tree. I go up to him and I ask him again, what's the meaning of life? He says, unity. I'm like, okay, interesting, kind of deep. I ask him, when will I meet my perfect soulmate? He says, you still have about 11 months before that happens. So then we hold hands and spin into the abyss. This one's called Prrrograming. I'm in a very fancy vacation resort, clear blue water, little huts, a lot of like rich people around me, and we're going back to their hotel room. We go into this big, huge elevator. It has like a giant window facing the ocean, and the elevator goes underground. And it's kind of scary, but it's very beautiful and interesting. So we're going under this cliff. I'm thinking to myself, what happens if this thing like collapses? I try to take my phone out so I can take a picture because the scene was so beautiful. But of course my phone is glitching and it's like not working. And every time the elevator door opens, like water gets in and I don't want to get my phone wet. So phone is not working. Again, sometimes my phone does work in my dreams. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay, there's no rules. And then I become lucid around this point, and so I go into the bedroom. There's a lot of things around. I remember my task of trying to find keywords with my friend. At this time, we were holding cards for each other. We had to guess what card the other person had. So I pick up a card. I get black spades with a bunch of random numbers on them and like a bunch of threes. The face looked like a man, but maybe it was a queen. I don't really know. I wasn't really satisfied with that answer, so I scream out to the dream again, and it gives me another card and some other symbols. So I try to memorize these symbols because I'll ask my friend later, hey, does this have anything to do with the cards that you picked for me? Turns out it did. I'll make another video about that though. I told the dream that I love you, and it felt like it said it back. Like sometimes I'll talk to the dreamscape, and I scream out to the dream, how can I heal my traumas and blockages? A black cat comes out of nowhere. He's like purring and happy, and this Asian guy in a blue hazmat suit comes up after him, and he hands me a puzzle. And it's like a plastic puzzle with all these little rectangular pieces, and each plastic piece had a word on it. The first word says programming, but like P-R-R-R-R, programming. And it felt like it went along with the cat that was like purring, so it was like programming. I don't know. It was kind of like a word scramble thing, and I had to figure out the puzzle. There was like over 30 puzzle pieces, and I didn't have enough time to stay in the dream and figure out the puzzle. The only piece that I remember was this programming. No, makes sense to me. So this one is interesting because I got lucid twice in the same night because I was visiting my friend in New York. So I had a dream where I was at home or somewhere else, and I remember thinking, no, I'm not here, I'm in New York, so this must be a dream because I remembered the last place that I fell asleep. A bunch of not interesting stuff happened in this dream, but towards the end of it, I was creating my big mansion again. I look in the fridge to see what there is. I see an Arden's Garden drink, which I don't know if that's everywhere, but it's basically like these healthy vegetable fruit juices. And one of the labels said, like, I had a collaboration, lavender mugwort drink. It said something along the lines of like, don't forget to follow up with Arden's Garden about this deal. And I was like, oh, cool, I have a collab with Arden's Garden about a lavender mugwort drink. They do have a lavender lemonade, and they should really get on Blue Lotus or something like that. Maybe mugwort, but I think Blue Lotus would make a better drink. They should get on that. I had this dream this summer. It's called Dragon Lady. And a lot of people have been having like dragon related dreams. It is the year of the dragon, isn't it? So this one was really cool because this dream lasted hours, maybe even days. Not in waking life time, but in dream time. It's kind of interesting how it's not necessarily always a 1-to-1 ratio with time spent in the dream and time that passed in waking life. As we know, time is relative. It's all fake. Like, time doesn't even move the same on different planets. Dream time can use its own scale, okay? Sometimes it's different. In this dream, I started off by talking to people, and I was having this realization that there's going to be a ratio of people that love me and hate me, and that's just natural. Not everybody's going to agree with my videos and the things I teach in my course, because we're all different. We all have different experiences, and that's okay. So I spent part of this dream like coming to terms with that and like releasing some people-pleasing energies, because everybody has different opinions and different ways of doing things and different terminologies for things, and that's okay. That's why I always try to say in my video, like, hey, this worked for me, but like find your own method, you know? I'm always preaching that. I'm never claiming things as like solid evidence or anything like that. Even though there's a lot of research out there, I always tell people to study things for themselves. The second part of this dream, I had this pet dragon, but it was also like a camel at the same time, but mostly a dragon. Dream logic, am I right? So I'm riding this dragon through these different villages and like through dimensions for hours, like maybe even multiple days. We're going through picking up people, dropping them off, like taking them places. Like, we're literally doing work in this other dimension, me and this dragon. And my cat is there too, and my cat is like talking to me, so that was kind of funny. The cat didn't say anything interesting though. I'm starting to get exhausted. Like, I've been riding this dragon forever, and the people there are getting exhausted too. The dragon is probably exhausted. So I respect the dedication of this animal. So I offer to give her whatever she wants. Now the animal is presenting as like a human. She says she wants some Parmesan shrimp and Milanesa pasta. I tell her I'll make it for her. And she's holding a baby while chopping some potatoes. This dragon human lady is like a professional cook. So there's a high standard. I'm like, oh, there's a high standard, but I'll make it for you because I respect your dedication. You just did all this work flying me around. So yeah. I also found some free money on the ground, so that was cool. And then I found like this book on the ground about different research experiments that I could do. And so I was trying to like memorize it. And yeah, then I woke up. A lot of these elements in the dream are kind of mismatched because, you know, you can't remember every detail, even when you're lucid. So this one I consider a visitation dream from my grandmother who's passed. Every once in a while, she'll visit me in a dream, and I can just recognize her energy. I know that it's her. And, you know, some people might say, no, that's just a character of your subconscious mind. Visitation dreams don't exist. And again, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. This is just my dream, and it's my experience. So the dream character in this dream was my grandma. Do what you want with that information. So this one's called 2 Boxes of Snacks. I'm walking around the lobby of a very nice hotel, and I go to the reception because they owe me another key. I feel kind of important. And then I'm walking around towards the outside restaurants, and then I see my grandmother who's just standing behind a door, kind of hiding, and she waves at me, and she's like, come over. And I'm like, oh my God, hey, I give her a hug. I missed her. Like, it's been a few years now since she passed. So I'm always happy to see her. And she's like, I got some things to tell you. Like, come sit with me. So we go sit in this restaurant at some tables. She hands me a bag and says it's for me, and that I should also share it with my dad. I'm trying to read the ingredients on it so I can like memorize it. I'm like wondering if it's something that I need to actually buy in waking life. She's like, no, it's fine. I look in the bag. It's like a chocolatey orange ball with some orange filling. But then I'm like drinking it in a cup. So it's not like something you eat. It's like a liquid. I don't know. My grandma's telling me that it's good for a lot of things. It's good for your health, this and that. The waiter comes by with the spray bottle and he's like, you want some lime for your drink? And before I can answer, he just sprays it in there. I'm like, dude, you just ruined my special gift from my grandma. Like, I was pissed, right? And him doing that was a little bit of a distraction because I start to lose lucidity because I get so in my emotions that he just disrespected me by spraying some mysterious liquid in my drink that I get sucked into that storyline. So I'm like losing lucidity a little bit. I tell my grandma, like, hold on, let me go deal with this. So I go over there to complain to the waiters. I'm like, hey, I didn't want that. You ruined my drink. Like, give me another one, please. So he gives me another drink. Similar to my grandma's gift, this one started off as like a box of chocolates. It was like a beautiful golden embroidered box. So I go up to my grandma just to make sure I'm getting my lucidity back. And I'm like, is this good? Is this the same thing? She's like, yeah, that'll work. Don't worry. I'm like, okay. I'm asking her all these questions. She said she misses us. She says she checks on us, but she also says she does her own thing. So I'm just like enjoying this nice little visitation with my grandma. And of course, when I woke up, I told my dad about the dream. I shared the love with him. I said that grandma said she loves us and misses us. And whatever I got in the dream, my grandma knew I needed. And I think the lessons will integrate in due time. So sharing the dream with my dad was my way of honoring the dream. So in this dream, my current dream task was to prepare for being in a research lab. Because in waking life, I had planned to go to Ken Paller's research lab and participate in some studies. So for the week or two before, I was like hoping to get lucid in a lab. And I was like, if I get lucid, I'm going to mentally prepare myself to think about whatever lab tasks I have to do. So in this dream, I become lucid because I'm in the basement of this prison and there's a lot of violence and chaos going on and I want no part of it. Like my family and friends are there and these prisoners are trying to like stab us and kill us. And I'm like, fuck no, this must be a dream because this is too terrifying. I don't want to be in this scene. Thank God it's a dream. So I leave the scene and I'm outside. And then I remember like, oh, I'm supposed to be, practicing my lucid dream tasks for the lab. And I'm like, okay, well, they're probably going to have me do some eye movements to prove that I'm lucid. So I practiced my left, right eye movements because I know when I'm hooked up to an EEG monitor, they'll be able to read that. So I was just practicing. And then after doing that, I was kind of bored. I didn't know what else to do. So I just skateboarded around. There was a guy on a bike and I just kicked him over for fun. I'm usually nice to dream characters, but I don't know, I just felt like kicking him over. He was fine though, don't worry. No dream characters were harmed in the making of this dream. And I'm going to finish up this video by talking about my actual experience in the Lucid Dream Research Lab, and I'm going to read you the dreams that I had while I was in there. So to preface this, I went to Ken Paller's Cognitive Neuroscience Lab at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. It's right outside of Chicago. I've always been a fan. That's where Karen Conkley and her colleagues did the two-way communication study where the experimenters talked to the lucid dreamers and sent messages back and forth using eye signals and muscle movements and Morse code and different things. They actually did this as a collaboration with other research labs as well. So huge fan of this lab. It's one of the very few research labs that actively studies lucid dreaming in the world. There's like a handful of them. So this was in Ken Paller's lab. And they hooked me up to the EEG monitors. They put the EMG on my chin. And I had all these cables, right? So every single dream that I had to do with the lab. I'm just praying that I get a lucid dream in this lab. So I had a few dreams that were non-lucid where I was in the lab and something was going wrong, or the experimenters came into the room to try to, change something. And I did not become lucid in those. I should have. I was training myself to, but that's okay. It's normal. You can't get lucid in every dream you have unless you're an omni. But the lucid part I will share with you guys. I made another video. You can go check it out where I went into details about all the dreams that I had in this overnight session. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about the lucid part. So I was outside the building. I was immediately lucid. I'm like, I'm in the lab. I know that I'm sleeping, so I'm lucid. I jump and I fly around a little bit. So I remember to do my left, right eye movements, which the EEG data did record. I'm happy about that. I'm back in the sleep chamber and I'm laying in the bed and I'm seeing all these projections on the walls, like cartoons are projecting. And I remember thinking like, this is not a part of the experiment. I'm dreaming. There's no projections. Like this was not a part of the instructions. So I kept reminding myself that I'm dreaming because it's very easy for me to be like, oh, I must have woken up, and to just like lose lucidity. So I did the task anyway. Another part of the task was to do sniffles when I heard a certain sounds. So I did the correct number of sniffles that corresponded with the sounds I heard. And the images projected on the walls were like flashing cartoons. Like it kind of looked like the land before time, like dinosaurs and lizards and different animals just flashing. And I was just trying to look at it and memorize it. And I'm like, maybe there's more to the experiment that I didn't know about because, I don't remember this being in the instructions, but I'm dreaming, so it must be like part of the dream. And then I heard the experimenter's voice in the dream tell me like, okay, you don't have to do the signals anymore because I'm trying to like measure your baseline. And again, I'm like, is this part of the dream? Or is he really saying that? Because I don't think he would tell me not to do the thing he told me to do originally. Like, I don't want to mess it up and like give into the dream, but I'm also trying to maintain lucidity and, differentiate what's part of the dream and what's coming from the waking world. So I'm like, okay, are you sure? So luckily I had already done the signals, so I just stopped doing them after that. But I had already done the correct signal, so it was fine. And then the projected images turned into like this high definition video of clouds. And I was just looking at it, just trying to process how this is related to the experiment. But I also kind of knew like I'm still in the dream, just focus on the dream task. And then in that dream, a lot of the experimenters started coming in and like different things were going on. And then eventually I woke up and the experimenters asked me to report the dream, and I reported the dream. And there, in fact, was no projections as a part of the experiment. He did not actually say that. So those hallucinations were all a part of the dream. But luckily, I did the task successfully. I'm really happy with my experience in the lab. And I did a more in-detail video about all the dreams I had while in the lab because I did an overnight there. So they woke me up almost every REM period, and I just reported my dreams. So I had a lot of dreams there, only 1 or 2 lucid moments, but that is up to date with lucid dreams in my dream journal. This video is almost an hour long. And there will be a part 3 when I gather up some more lucid dreams to share with you guys. So please comment if there was any parts that you thought were funny or interesting or resonated with you, or if you've had any similar dream experiences that you want to share. I would love to hear about them. As you guys probably know, I have a podcast where I love sharing my dreams with people and hearing about people's dreams. Love you. Bye.